Being a Christian in school is hard. As someone who has finished his compulsory education in Singapore, I really feel for the youths who are going through school right now. Living a Christ-like life while living the school life is tough, especially in Singapore's education system. I'll go through some reasons. In the first place, the academics are already tough to deal with. You have classes every weekday for more than 5 hours starting in the early morning. In school, I was walking around like a zombie, finding it difficult to stay focused due to sleep deprivation and having back-to-back lessons. Waking up early in the morning is one of my least favorite things about secondary school. How is it that they wish for us to not sleep? But after classes, you might still have CCA, you still have to finish your homework, which increases when you have holidays. It's like, bruh, do we use holidays as a reason to give more workload? Then you got the many tests to study for and projects to work on. And why is this also important? It's because of the national exams, which students want to do well in order to get into a better school or a course they want to take. Amidst all this, I'm pretty scared for the students who place studying over God. There are cases of youths turning up to church too tired during Bible study or sermons because they had tuition classes or CCA before that. Some youths don't want to turn up to church in the first place because of how busy they would be, especially during the exam period. They rather focus on their upcoming tests than on something that would help them for life. Some youths don't even pray as a habit, but once it's exams, they would pray a lot for God to give them the results they want. I don't really think that's the right posture, treating God like a vending machine, but I understand why they might reach that conclusion. Then, you have the overly competitive nature in Singapore. We love using tests to separate people according to their grades. I recall that in primary school, there was some tests to find out who can be in the gifted program, or even Singapore's favourite exam, PSLE. Adults have passed the baton to the next generation in terms of comparing yourself with others. Since young, we have been conditioned to compare ourselves with others as if God cares about the grades you get when He saves you. It's kind of toxic thinking about how we view others differently based on our grades. I admire someone because they get a high score, though they might have a bad influence on me. I look down on someone just because they don't do well in exams. We are taught to love everyone, and this is making it hard for everyone to feel adequate, which is how God sees us. I need to constantly remind youths that life is not a competition. As cheesy as it might sound, you don't have to think that life is all about striving to become better than others. You can find contentment in being average or even bad at things. God would rather focus on your character. Christians in school can be comforted by this idea such that they will not be discouraged because of pride or envy. Another thing that Christians struggle with in school is making friends. Friends might be the number one reason people enjoy coming to school. Despite the academic stress or tough teachers, at least I could hang out with my friends. And I agree, it is important that we have friends. The issue comes when you mix with the wrong influence, who will make you less mature in your character. I don't even need you to make friends with only Christians, but there comes a time where you gotta ask yourself if your friend is good for your well-being, Christians included. The wrong environment will make it harder for you to walk with Christ, while the right one will make it easier by leaps and bounds. While we are being cautious of making good friends, we also have to ask ourselves, are we being a good friend? Sometimes you have to check in if you are the one who is being a bad influence to others. And I understand that it's hard as someone who was not careful with my actions and words, like my teacher said. That's why it's tough being a Christian in school. Another thing that makes it hard is that there's a lot of swearing in school. No matter how hard schools or parents try to minimize this, there's a lot of cursing in all schools. Even parents who have ensured that their children are not online to learn all these bad things or dirty-minded stuff, unfortunately most of them would eventually learn it just by spending time with people in school. Us Christians understand that swearing is not what we are asked to do with our mouths. We are trying to be pure in this environment where a swear word is used every 5 sentences, and that can be tough. Also, there's this weird idea that swearing makes you cool or that not swearing causes you to not be relatable. Really? Which is more impressive, someone who swears or someone who has the self-control to not swear? So that's something which makes being a Christian in school hard. Let's now talk about the touchy subject of LGBTQ+. This report in 2024 shows that in Singapore, the younger generation has more people that will identify as part of LGBTQ+ compared to the older generation. This is likely because our generation is pushing the idea that we should be accepting of people regardless of what they identify themselves as. That causes more people to be willing to publicly share their sexual identity. In fact, saying no to LGBTQ+ can get you cancelled because that view appears offensive and outdated. So, meeting someone who identifies as part of LGBTQ+ is more common in school, and meeting with others who support this community is even more common. Why might that be hard as a Christian? Because people might think that we are being unloving or homophobic to them. Can you live out the nuances of what the Bible tells you to do with someone who is part of LGBTQ+? Can you explain why it is not pleasing in God's eyes, yet still love the person as God tells us to do? This is a topic that deserves a video on its own, so I'll work on that. I think there are follow-up videos for the topics I've talked about, comparing yourself to others, making friends, and swearing. I hope you better understand why being a Christian in school is hard. I really got to understand what it's like in school from hearing the struggles my youths face, as well as thinking about the struggles I faced growing up. So, for those who have friends or family members still in school, I hope we can be more empathetic to the issues that they face and hence be more loving towards them. And for those still in school, I hope you persist in your faith despite all these struggles. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance.